Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Identity 5 North America and European Summer Tournament. Take care of my baby.
Yes, this is mine now.
I'm Mark Takuno, and joining me today is
Sayora.
Sayora slash doll kidnapper.
No, that's mine now. Naib's my one OTP, my one true partner.
Wow, your boyfriend is not going to be happy about
my.
Anyways, so we'd like to welcome you all once again. We are currently on day 2 of our tournament. Yesterday we had some great games, great showing, and I guess it just really goes to show how much talent we have going on in the community. But
Yes.
since we are heading into day 2, I'm all the more excited, especially as these matches go along, as we head in further into the bracket. We start weeding out these teams, and we determine who the best of the best for North America and Europe is potentially going to be.
True, and I just wanna give you a little did you knows today before we actually start.
Please.
I just watched last night. That's why I was a bit of an underslept kind of person. I was watching Grizzly on his videos, and there was one video that, did you know, he already has his music out? He made a single. Because he was
Really?
he was trying out the Red Lady, on the test server. And while he was trying the Red Lady, he was he was queued by bots. So so while he was doing bot matches, he was already making his single. You know what's the title? There's already two songs.
Oh my goodness. After being with Grizzly at Colibus, indulge me.
Okay, the songs are called Survivors on a Rocket Chair and Survivors Going Down.
That is going to be hitting
Grizzly.
the Billboard
You ask
charts
Grizzly
for sure.
when you guys are together now.
Yeah, I'll ask him in 2 weekends. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and check out what we have here. Of course, ladies and gents, we have one match for today, so be sure to fasten your seatbelts. I hope you guys are pretty much settled, because this match is going to be pretty darn good. It is going to be XD versus MX Darkness and Light.
Yes, and look at the hunter for the side of XD. Yes, ladies and gents, it's going to be none other than the Dream Witch. And for the side of MX Darkness and Light, as the survivors for the first half of the round 1, it's going to be the Prospector, the Mechanic, the Mercenary, and looky here, looks like we will be seeing the Mind's Eye.
Oh my goodness. So, before we dig in further into what we have here on the table, let's go ahead and talk about tournament format.
Yep.
Just so that everybody that is new to the competitive scene here for Identity 5 gets an idea of how we go about these tournaments, what's at stake, how do we figure out who wins these matches?
Alright, so for the tournament format, we are going to have a single elimination, a best of 1, meaning there will be no bans for the first. Even, of course, it's just round 1, so there's no bans, but even if it's just one round, each team gets to get a shot at being a hunter and a survivor.
Yes, and with our points, it's pretty much vice versa between hunters and survivors. On the hunter front, if he doesn't catch a single survivor, he won't be getting any points. 1 survivor merits 1 point. 2 survivors that he catches merits 2 points. 3 survivors, 3 points. And the little extra incentive here for Identity 5 tournaments, if you manage to catch all 5 survivors, send them off blasting to the sky, you will be rewarded not just 4, but that extra point, rounding it up to a total of 5 points. Same goes for survivors, wherein if all 4 survivors escapes, they are rewarded 5 points, and you pretty much go down the line all the way to the bottom 0 points if none of them manage to escape. So it's very, very crucial here. This is something that we talked about yesterday, where since this is a best of 1, you don't really have any room for error, in which case for these survivors as well as the hunter, you ideally want to put your best foot forward to guarantee that victory. And I think with the games that we saw yesterday, pretty much definitive, we saw how these teams really stuck to their guns, not only in terms of what they might be good at, could also be just pretty much straight up stick to the meta. There are survivors and hunters that are in the meta for a reason, and we get a glimpse of that not only through just playing the game on your respective servers, but we also get to witness other competitive games across regions. I believe that I was checking out some content from people in the community reviewing the Chinese tournament, but you know what? We're going to hold off from that because, ladies and gents, we are heading into the game. And Fasten your seatbelts. As I said, this is going to get pretty darn intense. Dream Witch.
Yeah, and like you mentioned a while ago, we are just seeing some, in the meta, survivors and hunters. But Mad Cell here is using the lucky guy. And going back to the game, the Dream Witch follower is currently into the tails of the. If I'm not mistaken, he was going for the mind's eye, but. Yeah, I'm correct. It's going for the mind's eye right here. And, the main body just giving visuals all over and now leached the mind's eye and to, get the followers to follow her.
It's always such a pleasure watching hunters that run Dream Witch because Dream Witch is the type of hunter. But okay!
Okay, that was a beautiful hit by the follower of the Dream Witch right there. That was perfect timing because when the mind's eye crossed over, or let's say use that palette, just getting more patience.
So from what we hear here, we just got news that we're going to be resetting the match. There was a little bit of a tech difficulty, but no worry, guys. No worries, guys. We are currently on it right now. But yeah, what I was trying to highlight earlier is Dream Witch is one of those hunters where you have to be highly efficient at multitasking because she's not like those traditional hunters, which are very straightforward. You just control the hunter itself. There's a lot of elements that you have to work with here. So, which is why it's always such a pleasure seeing a lot of these high caliber hunters in tournaments demonstrate their capacity to be able to multitask and effectively use Dream Witch. And I think from what we're seeing here in this game, this might be another one of those cases where we get to see just that.
Yeah, true. And we all know that the Dream Witch is one of the high tier hunters that are being used in almost all servers actually. And just doing my simple homework.
Okay.
And I just found out that there are awesome strategies to use with this Dream Witch, and let me just share you one. And
Okay.
one of them is the ability to use Dream Witch by having double hit. When you hit it and then you just hit again, it would usually knock up, right? And that would take time for other hunters. But the Dream Witch can actually do that in an instant with the help of her followers. She can use 2 followers with 1 survivor.
Man, if I were using Dream Witch,
I
all
wouldn't be able to do
survivors
that.
out of the gate.
Yeah, I would give it
For sure.
5 points immediately. But yeah, based on the first game that we have, they had the mind's eye, which is quite efficient with the mechanic as well. It only means that they would really like to prioritize decoding their speed in a very, very fast rate. And that's a good thing. But the thing here is that the hunter will be, surely that's 100%, will be opting to target those decoders, and one of which is mind's eye. Because mind, already know, guys, the mind's eye skills. So it's just about how the survivor gets to use it and how they can kite as long as possible.
And that is kind of what you need to do. I think, especially with games like Identity 5,
Yep.
a lot of people tend to underestimate what level of skill, what level of coordination you need to put into it, especially if you're on the survivor front. Hunter, I feel like even though you're alone, you have nobody to blame but yourself. That in itself is another added layer of pressure as well because, you don't have any other person to communicate with, unlike if you're a survivor where you're kind of working together as a team. Of course, the difference there is that from what we see, when you're trying to make sure that you use your personas efficiently, you really have to be on point with, let's say, okay, do we pop the cipher
machine,
just
yeah.
yet?
Yeah.
Can we pop it already?
Are you gonna rescue him first?
Exactly. Who's gonna go for the rescue? Who's gonna focus on decoding, or do we need to go for a baton pass at some point just so that we juggle the aggro that we're taking from Hunter?
True.
So there's just a lot of factors that come into it. Pros and cons for both sides, really.
True. And yeah, for the side of the hunters, though, even if it's a one-man team, you gotta, you can't blame anyone but yourself, like I said. But at the same time, the hunter with total concentration, it's gonna be really, really effective because he could tell on himself when to actually do this and do that. And of course, we'll go back to the game, ladies and gents, and we are just seeing on our split screen the locations of the prospector and the mercenary.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be very, very exciting. Looks like Harwich already on the tail here, spotting out Sander Fox.
Which is quite the good target right here, because as I said, Mind's Eye is the one speedy decoder, and that's what you have to like first target to. But we can now say that the Mercenary and company will be helping the Mind's Eye to safety.
Yes. Oh man, there we go. Already, actually a lot of survivors in the vicinity here. Alexander Fox will get spotted out. The first swipe will be landing onto him. He makes a run for it.
Yes, but of course we can see that the follower is in his tail. Will be trying to corner him out by 2 followers in here. Will be getting that knockdown.
What an impressive pincer coming in there from our hunter. Of course, the Mind's Eye try to do what he can, but
Ooh, uses the blink there. But okay, going back, that was just a good strategy because he was already getting the Mind's Eye onto the balloon, and of course, just for some slight visions out here and there, just go and transfer to the main body for a second, and now goes in again to leech onto Survivor.
yes, and of course, from what we're seeing here, definitely going to play it a little bit more defensively. Let's go ahead and see if any of our survivors are making a maneuver to try to go for the save. Of course, Alexander Fox, still a bit of a way to go. Should be fine. Looks like Madzel will be on duty to go for that save, but with very good reason. I mean, he is running Mercenary, but the terror shock, though, man, oh man.
But you know, the thing about here is that the Mercenary has a very delayed hit effect. So he's the one very opted to be the main rescuer here for the side of MX. But at the same time, look at again, the terror shock from the Mind's Eye, but with the help of the Tide Turner can give you a few seconds to actually go and distance yourself with rocket chairs. But the Mercenary, look at the countdown, Articuno, because he will be knocking down.
Yes, the Mind's Eye, though, is down for the count along with Mercenary. Will get strapped to that rocket chair. Already on it here, this Hunter. And still, 3 ciphers are remaining. I'd say that MX Darkness and Light, sure, even with the proactivity coming in from this Hunter, they've been doing some fairly good work by working on these ciphers. Decoding speed is definitely at a respectable rate.
Yes.
Although, definitely have to start making some moves here, and there you go.
Yes, I like the way that the Dream Witch actually, you know, multitask it into transferring from the Mind's Eye to the Mercenary. But of course, Mercenary taking advantage of that. But with the use of the blink, you know, you just gotta know the perfect timing to actually get those skills up in hand, just so you can have the tides in your favor.
Yeah, of course, another cipher has been decoded. 2 ciphers are remaining, but then again, these survivors already 2, which are under Dream Witch's belt.
Yes.
Both Martin on the mechanic as well as this prospector have been trying to do what they can. Of course, accelerating decoding at this point has been activated. Let's go ahead and see if it'll help their cause for MX Darkness and Light.
Which probably will, because this is the thing if you have 2 like rescuers and decoders. Because if one is potentially caught, the other one can actually just do their thing. But of course, taking advantage of that, like, because we all know that the followers can also use the respective spells. I like the Dream Witch here, not really taking all of that risk to just get and use the spells just to get a knockdown, you know? And that's good, going pretty good for the Hunter.
Since the Mind's Eye is already down, looks like Prospector did need to come to the table just so that they could try to keep this Hunter preoccupied. But from what we're seeing here, Prospector as well as Mercenary have been taken down to their knees. So Mechanic gonna have to start working here.
Yes, and of course we see that both of the rescuers are down, and the Mechanic's decoding speed will surely decrease. I mean, that's for sure. But you know, maybe the reason why that the Prospector aided that Mind's Eye, even if it's just a little bit, because this is like a best of 1, and you want to have points as much as possible.
Definitely.
It was just about the timing that got a bit of out of hand here. But we can see though the Mechanic is doing a good job, just buying time, getting, you know, sacrificing a hit, just so potentially to actually rescue the remaining survivor right there. But you know, the Dream Witch is very, very well aware of this, that the Mechanic will be having that decoding debuff and just go for that target.
Yeah, Prospector though, let's go ahead and see. Still, we have those 2 ciphers up in the air. Of course, Mechanic is already down. Hasn't been strapped just yet, but then again, pretty much understandable with Mercenary as well as Mind's Eye already down. There's not really as much pressure to need to bring that mechanic to the rocket chair. Pretty good strategy, pretty much standard in competitive. We'll just revert to instead looking for that last survivor, this Hunter.
That was almost, I thought that they would like collide in there, but knowing that the Prospector is doing a very good job kiting here onto the hospital, the Dream Witch priority now is to just let that mechanic sit and let the Prospector come to you, That's just a good way to like bait out a survivor, but Prospector would know any better because from what I've seen, he has like remaining magnets left.
Still has a bit to work with here. There we go. Darzet is on the run. Mechanic, though. Man, super tricky. Oh, wait a minute.
We weren't able to see it.
Actually goes down.
Yes, we weren't able to see it, though, because of that sudden change of camera. But the Prospector tried to actually link his magnet onto the follower. But unfortunately, though, he was in the range of the hitbox. That's the reason why he was knocked down. And right here, you can see that the Prospector struggling its way. But this is a very clean sweep for the Dream Witch.
Yeah, XD's Hunter, lots of work done. MX Darkness and Light, they tried to hold their own in this game. Fortunately, did not quite work out, but still very well played here on both fronts. Again, like I mentioned, we're getting some pretty darn good Identity 5 games off of this tournament, and not disappointed the least bit.
Yep, that is true. But this is still the first half of the round one. Yeah. I mean, Team MX Darkness and Light can still pull this off because they will be the one who's going to be the hunter this time around.
Yeah, and this is something that we talked about yesterday, where we've seen both matches almost go the same route, where
with
the first
score.
round, with the same score, both first rounds starting off with a perfect sweep for the hunter. And then we always say this going into the next game, there's definitely a lot more pressure for the team that needs to catch up in points, because it's either you force that tie or you lose out on being able to proceed to the next bracket. So again, got to give your salutes to these players, because it's not just simply playing, let's say you're just casually playing on your phone Identity 5, or maybe if you're feeling a little bit more competitive, try to climb up the ranks. This is, there's something at stake here. Speaking of which, we never actually got to talk about what is at stake for this tournament.
Oh, well, yes, of course. Detectives, we will be having a prize pool. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's $3,000 US.
Oh my goodness. The number of skins, I would have been able to.
The number of echoes, like, you could go giveaways.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I would have just splurged it on the Persona event, to be honest.
But, the Persona event's like over now. So you go for the part 2. Go for part 2.
Yeah, hopefully I can get whatever skins I can off of part 2.
Yeah. There are lots of waifus there. So.
Regrets.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, once again, congratulations to
XD.
Man, great performance from that hunter. And I saw his name. I'm kind of wondering if he is a streamer, because he has the platform
Twitch.
Towards the end.
Yeah,
so definitely going to catch that.
I would like to see it too.
Yeah. At the end of the day, he hit them with that do.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they pronounced that, but chat is probably not going to forgive me for that pun. For those that follow K-pop, yeah, I'm probably dead after this.
Yeah, probably are.
Probably. So we're going to give our teams a little bit of a break to strategize, and we are going to be taking a break as well on our end. We have been your casters. I'm Mark Takuno.
And I'm Ciara.
And you guys are watching the Identity 5 North American and European Summer Tournament. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Identity 5 North America European Summer Tournament. And we have just come from a game where, following the trend, Hunter, another 5-4?
4. 4 survivors.
Oh, okay.
With 5 points.
Gotcha. I'm like, 5-4. Is there a new points now? But of course, yeah, 5 points, 4 out of 4 survivors skyrocketed,
Yes.
blasting off again. Team Rocket.
Yeah, but this is, it's too early to, conclude because we are heading on to our second
Yes.
half. And maybe, the Hunter for the MX Dark and Light will be getting another sweep. And we're going to
Definitely.
have a tie,
Yeah, I would love to be able
I'd love to see that.
commentate on more games because this is the one and only match that we're having. Of course, even more matches will be happening over the next weekends to come. Of course, we'll be joining you during the next weekend and during the quarterfinals onwards. We are going to be seeing some Persuadable and Gaming Grizzly on the desk.
Don't forget my autograph. And of course, going back here, we're already into the second half of our match. And for MX Darkness and Light, they would be the Hunters this time. And looky here, looks like we will be seeing a Joseph for the side of, it's the photographer, by the way. Yeah, I keep calling the name because, shipping it with name.
Yeah, you're that close with them.
Yeah. And going back
First name terms.
for the side of XD, they will be the ones who's going to be the survivor this time. And looky here, looks like we'll be having a mercenary, the coordinator, the mechanic, and of course the seer.
This should be interesting. So if I'm not mistaken, as far as the broadcasted games, this is the first game where we will be having a photographer.
Yes.
As far as the broadcasted games
Yes,
go,
yes.
I'm not really sure with the games that we weren't able to broadcast because, of course, a lot of these games are happening simultaneously.
Yep.
I believe Persuadable made an effort to,
Do an English comment.
on one of the other games for.
Persuadable noticed me.
I'm pretty sure he. But
well, that's like a big thing for me, and that's my first time.
yeah, it's your first time casting.
Yeah.
You're doing okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this draft here once again. So I would say this is something that we brought up during the last time, pretty much up to standard here. Not surprised to be seeing a lot of these seers, a lot of these mechanics. Normally, if we did have these instances where we do have a banning phase, these are usually on the tippity top of priority with what people would want to take away. A few other instances would be picks like Prospector, Enchantress, Mercenary, but probably not as high up in comparison to the value that Seer and Mechanic brings to the table. But you know what, guys? We'll let the players' gameplay speak for itself as we head into our second round between MS Darkness and Light on the Hunter side with XD on the Survivor side.
Yep, and of course this is like a usual strategy for the photographer. Say, smiles at the camera, and he goes into the mirror world to actually get the mirror image of the survivors. And you know what happens in reality when this coordinator is in a rocket chair? He's gonna get knocked down immediately. And that's the good priority coming from the photographer here for the side of MX Darkness and Light. But this is not gonna stop the XD members because this is a good opportunity for them to just go and keep on decoding. And mind you, Articuno, you saw a while ago that the other survivors also went inside the survivor world, the mirror world rather, to actually go and decode, right?
Yep.
That's to prevent a sudden, heart attack, mini heart attack,
Right.
like, okay, suddenly the hunters are here. And that's a very good discipline for the side of XD.
Yeah, looks like a lot of bots though here. Trying to look for his next target. We'll be finding
This, if I'm not mistaken, since it had a hoodie, it would be the mercenary. Oh, that was a seer, and that's the mercenary. There, I'm
Princer right
correct.
there. So he's currently literally sprinting his way out of there, of course. Not going to be putting any mind. Wouldn't be focusing on trying to chase him down. Would not be wise. Wouldn't be the most efficient use of time. We'll be trying to look for other means instead. And it looks like
Smile to the camera,
Going
says
back.
the photographer right here. And it was a good call for that photographer to not prioritize that mercenary simply because, like what we keep on saying, he has a delayed hit effect, which won't be necessary until this point in time. for the side of the hunter. And yes, he would just go on and focus onto the mirror image because you know the mirror images won't be running away from you. And that's a very good thing for the photographer to prioritize right now.
Yeah, but so far from what we're seeing here, MX Darkness and Lights, Hunter putting in a lot of work, but same goes for XD Survivors. Definitely not getting deterred. We're seeing these ciphers already being played out here. I think from the spread that we're seeing here on the other side, I believe a number of these ciphers have already been decoded
Yep.
to a
Not
bit.
just pop.
Not going for the full decode just
Yeah.
yet, just so that you have a lot more options to pop later on if needed.
Looks like we just heard like some sort of palette dive thingy, but you can see here that the photographer already has sight on the one who is currently making that mark right there. And of course, in the long run, we just saw that the mirror image of the mercenary was down on the chair and goes for that knockdown. But this is a good strategy for the mechanic. You know why? He's purposely using that mark so that the photographer would be baited out and go and catch him instead, so that the mercenary and company will be rescued. But the photographer, knowing this better, decides to teleport.
Yes, so trying to seek out a target here, in which case we'll just find another
A
one
seer.
of those.
That was a seer, if I'm not mistaken.
If I'm not
but-
mistaken, that was a puppet.
it was? Oh yeah, it is, because I don't see them owls,
Yeah.
So far so good for the photographer right here. Just he knows that the survivors aren't like popping up those ciphers anywhere soon, so it's good to take his time, but not too much because we are only down to 3 ciphers remaining, and it would be best to like go and prioritize a target for a sure seated survivor.
Right, and I guess here on the Hunter front, I think it's great that the photographer was able to seek out those puppets because you kind of want to dwindle down the efficiency that the mechanic has in getting
Yes.
these decodes faster. And as you can see, speaking of getting things done faster, look at the number of ciphers already taken off the board. Just 1 cipher remaining, in which case, and we're reaching another one of those tricky scenarios where since we're at 1 cipher remaining with all 4 survivors alive and kicking, it's definitely going to be a taller order here for the photographer to equal out, to tie the scoreboard, because you need all 4 survivors down. And
Yes.
with 1 survivor remaining and all 4 up, it's, man.
Yep. The pressure is getting more intense for the side of the hunter, but the hunter knows this. He's very well aware of this and is just trying to target this mercenary as much as possible, because the mercenary already knows that he has that decoding decrease when it comes to the decoding debuff, because the mercenary a while ago was injured, so she opted to just go and be the one to kite the hunter right here. But the hunter, just look at this patience, just not wasting any time. He wants that sure hit, and he's just doing the best he can right here. And that was just a good turn. He waited for the mechanic to actually go, but the survivors were already up because the last cipher was already popped.
Yeah, that was pretty much what Mumu was doing there. Just gonna cut around the hunter. Once I get that last hit, that's where he popped that last cipher and make a run for it. And I think at this point, XD definitely at a very heavy advantage here. But of course, this is not going to be deterring MX Darkness and Lights' Hunter. Still trying to go for it. There you go, getting the hit onto the coordinator.
Yes. And for the side of the hunter, this is his perfect opportunity to actually go and pick off some survivors right here because he has detention. But take note though, on the shack gate, I call it shack gate because it's near the shack, the mercenary and the 3 people are already there, just stand by, and it was a good time for the gate to be opened, and the seer uses that shield to go to actually exit the map right here, and the mechanic just, taking its time to escape.
So there you have it. We're really starting to see the
pattern.
same score
Yes.
for the 3 matches that we had here, at least on the live stream. Like I mentioned,
On
there's
the
other matches
broadcast, yeah.
happening, not elsewhere, but off stream. Since we could only do,
Simultaneously?
we could only cover so many games
Yeah.
for this
Because they're
tournament.
like, how many teams do we have? If I'm not mistaken,
More
it's
than 30.
Yeah, more than 30. So
yes.
It's just
That's a
so
lot.
yeah, it's amazing. And more than 30 teams would only mean many people playing this game.
Hmm.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
And I don't know. At this point in time, it's just becoming all the more interesting
Yes.
for the matches that are going along. And I think, this is good groundwork here because we're starting to see which teams that we're going to be anticipating, which kind of look like they might have a little bit more of an upper hand going into the later parts of the bracket. Because, like I mentioned, these earlier matches are a good feeling out process, especially for those that are able to catch the stream that are part of the tournament. They're able to feel out, okay, hopefully we don't go up against this team. But then again, since there is a bracket, they're kind of are already aware of who they'll eventually be going up against. So they know just how much practice or preparation they might need to put into these future matches. But yeah, let's go ahead and go back to that game there. So Photographer was definitely trying to push for going for these survivors. I think that's one of the trickier things when you are running Photographer. You know, there's there's that.
There's
How
that
do I put it?
double.
Yeah, there's like
worlds.
two different worlds,
Yeah.
and it's not the best of both worlds
Oh,
sometimes.
wow. You're kind of singing
Yeah,
right
I'm
now,
feeling the puns
you're
today.
you're feeling
Like,
it,
The
And-
puns that are probably making people cringe
But
in chat right now. But
it's
yeah.
it's a good way, to start it off. But going back to what you said, it's true. I mean, there are two worlds, and you have to consider two things: the mirror image and the real image. And I think for me, I like. I'm playing, of
Right.
course. I'm playing the game as well. So from what I've observed for the photographer users is that they, of course, prioritize the mirror image. But to counter that, the survivors go in a very far distance away from the photographer so that if ever their mirror images were seated down on a rocket chair, they would be knocked out in a range where the photographer can't see them. And this is a good opportunity for the survivors to actually go and heal him without using their self-heal ability.
Right. And you gotta hand it to these survivors as well. They played around that quite well. But as we mentioned, when you go about these tournaments, when you go out these picks, you have to weigh in whether you lean towards the meta or if you're confident enough in what your pocket picks are.
Yes.
Since you're confident in that pick, you practice it more. You know that you're gonna be able to perform on it. That's what you bring to the
Yeah.
table. And at the end of the day, you got to give kudos to MX Darkness and Light for playing their hardest out there.
Their kiting time, is really it really took long for in my opinion, because if I'm gonna play that game, I wouldn't be able to kite it. I mean, on just 1 second pack, they would knock me
Yeah,
down.
like the
in
first
it.
15 seconds.
Yeah,
of the
no,
game.
actually 10 seconds.
You're
because
gonna run straight into the hunter and like
I am not a good kiter, ladies and gents. That's what you gotta, And seeing their patience, and them just doing their thing it's really, something to worth commending for.
yeah. Overall, I'd say we definitely, with the one match that we have broadcasted today, I will say that we definitely got the most out of it for sure.
Yes.
For sure, really liked commentating that game, and especially all the other games that we'll be having as we go along over the next
Course.
week. And like I mentioned, very, very excited as these brackets go along. The more competitive it gets, the more that we see.
Intense.
Yeah, the more intense, the strong teams climbing up the ladder. And I think we are going to have an interesting conclusion once we hit that final weekend.
Yes, but for
sure.
now, we'll be hitting the hay. No? See what
Yep.
I'm saying?
Yeah, since this is the last match, we will be saying our farewells for now. We would, of course, like to thank everybody from the Identity 5 community for the support that you've been showing for the game that we all love. Love
course.
the positivity coming in from everybody. And rest assured, we are going to be bringing you all the more action, give it much more justice come the next weekend.
Yes, of course. And with that, we are your commentators. My name's Seora.
And of course, I'm Arctic Kudo. Thank you for tuning in to the Identity 5 North American European Summer Tournament. We'll be catching you next weekend for some more Identity 5 action. For the meantime, adios.